So I've got 2 teaspoons, and again. Whenever I have a big family gathering, this is the recipe that I like to cook the most. I've got a big family and we do have a lot of people over. It's pomegranate molasses, honey and orange roasted chicken. You can marinate the chicken the night before. Just give yourself some time on the day, probably a couple of hours, to get it in the oven and slow cook it. I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to make now. So I'm going to just start by chopping up some parsley. I've got all the spices laid out here already. It's quite an easy recipe. Just a 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons is really what you've got to remember. So I've got 2 teaspoons each of dried oregano, paprika, biber and cumin. I've got 2 tablespoons each of honey, olive oil and pomegranate molasses, my favourite ingredient. It's great as a condiment, it's great as a dressing, it's great as a marinade. It's used a lot in Turkish cooking. And I've also got 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, flat leaf parsley, which I'm going to finely chop and add to the marinade as well. What I am going to do as well is just chop up a little bit of extra parsley and use it as a garnish once the chicken is cooked. You can also, if your herbs go slightly they start to wilt a little bit, or you're worried you're not going to use it all up, then you can actually chop it up and then freeze it. And then you can use it in sauces and marinades, not in the same way as you would necessarily as a fresh garnish, but definitely as an ingredient in a sauce. So don't chuck your herbs away, even if they're kind of looking a little bit sad and lonely. You can always chop them up and freeze them. So a little handy tip for you there. So that's about right now. I'm going to use roughly 2 tablespoons, but what you will realise with me is 2 tablespoons sometimes might amount to maybe 3, but generous tablespoons of parsley or herbs as well, because it does add a lot of flavour. I've also got here 2 oranges, but the likelihood is I'm just going to use 1 because these are mutant oranges from the Turkish shop, and they're great. They're huge and they're just organic and lovely. So I'm going to use roughly about 6 tablespoons of orange juice. So I'll see how much I get out of this one, and then I will actually put the orange skins and the kind of pulp and carcasses into the chicken tray, so it kind of roasts everything together. And underneath the chicken, you're going to add some chopped onions as well, again to just caramelise up and create a lovely luscious dressing and sauce for the chicken as it's slow roasting. Right, so I'm just going to bring the chicken over and add the onions to the chicken. I'm using my tongue just not get my hands in the chicken too much. Always be careful when you're cooking with poultry, of course. I've got 8 to 10 large chicken thighs is what the recipe calls for. These are from my local Turkish butchers, but nice big chicken thighs, because obviously it's going to be cooking for at least 2 hours. So you want a cut of meat and a cut of chicken that's going to live up to being cooked for that amount of time. So chicken thighs or chicken legs are really good. And if you go for nice big pieces of chicken thighs, that'd be great on the bone preferably. Again, a slow cook on the bone will produce a much nicer intense flavour, and the meat will just fall apart, which is what we're looking for here really. So I've got the onions in there with the chicken thighs. I'm going to add 10 garlic cloves. I'm going to bash them and peel them, add them. Now I'm going to mix all the marinade ingredients together and then pour that over the chicken and let it marinate. I love garlic. I mean, obviously again, it's used a lot in Cypriot cooking, Turkish, Middle Eastern food. It's used a lot in Eastern, Asian dishes as well, obviously, and I just love the flavour of it. What I sometimes do is if I've got a dish that's quite intense in garlic flavour, I'll put it with a side dish that isn't kind of infused with that much garlic, just to balance out the flavour so it's not too overpowering. So I'm just going to bash these garlic cloves and add them to the chicken thighs. I'll just really try to keep them kind of at least a bit intact, but you want them to, again, integrate into the sauce, so to really release the flavours. No vampires in this house, that's for sure. So that's 10 garlic cloves there, and what I'm going to do now is mix together all the marinade ingredients and then pour it over the chicken and let it marinate. So I've got the oil going in first. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put all the 2 tablespoonful ingredients in first. So there's 2 tablespoons of olive oil, pomegranate molasses, honey, the parsley, and remember my 2 tablespoons here are a bit kind of willy-nilly, so I'll put that in. That looks about right to me. A bit of good stir. Now I'm going to add the 2 teaspoon ingredients. So we've got 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, 2 teaspoons of paprika, biber, and biber is also known as Aleppo pepper flakes. I get asked about this a lot. So it's from the Aleppo pepper. So the flakes are quite sweet and smoky, quite unique again to Turkish food and Turkish cooking. So if you're looking for biber and you can't find it, look for Aleppo pepper flakes. So you can check out my video on top 5 spices because I've got all of that information explained on there. And the last 2 teaspoons is cumin. So in that goes. I can already smell that lovely, sweet, smoky, spicy, herby, yummy, delicious sauce coming together there. And it just needs loosening a little bit, and that's where this baby comes in. So I'm just going to cut this into 4 big pieces, squeezing the juice. Look at that, lovely. Squeezing the juice, I reckon. Oh, orange juice there, I reckon that'll be enough. I'm gonna add these orange skins to the tray. So roughly 6 to 8 tablespoons of freshly squeezed orange juice like this. Give that a stir, look at that. So now that marinade is just loosened a little bit, some extra natural sweetness has gone in there with the honey and then the slightly tart pomegranate molasses, all those lovely spices. Be absolutely delicious. So I'm going to bring back the tray of chicken thighs. So I'm going to put, what I might do actually, just cut these up just a little bit more, slot them in there. Just be careful when you're slicing up the fruit or veg on the chopping board that you don't touch the chicken and then touch the chopping board again. So just be mindful of that. Before I pour the sauce over, very important, some sea salt flakes, and a teaspoon of black pepper, all a good stir. Pour that over the chicken and you're ready to marinate. I would say a minimum really of 2 hours of marinating time. If not, and you can do it overnight, that would be amazing. The longer it marinates, the more intense the flavours. Give everything a nice little coating. Cover it with foil and then pop it in the fridge.
So I've taken the chicken out of the fridge now because it's ready to go into the oven. It's been marinating for a few hours, but it's actually going to be cooked with foil for about 50 to 60 minutes, and then I'm going to take the foil off because it needs a long cooking time. So in total, it's about 1 hour, 50 minutes to 2 hours really. That's what we're going to give it now. So it's cooked at 180 degrees centigrade, fan assisted oven, or 200 degrees centigrade if it's not. If it's just like an oven. Why is it just oven? I'm going to cook it on with the foil first, just to give it a slow cook so that all the flavours kind of go into the chicken. Then the foil's going to come off after about 50 to 60 minutes. And it's going to have another 50 to 60 minutes in the oven. So almost 2 hours of cooking time in total. But just judge it. You may need to turn it over. You want the last part of the cooking process to be done with the chicken skin side up, so the skin really crisps up, so it doesn't go soggy. So just bear that in mind. You might need to flip it over, you might need to not. I also take the tray out of the fridge about an hour before it's ready to go into the oven so that it comes up to room temperature. What you don't want is a cold tray that goes into the oven that takes a longer time to cook and it doesn't cook for the right amount of time. So it needs to come up to room temperature, so just bear that in mind. And you can cook it with the foil on that you wrapped it in when it was marinating as well. You don't need to, I just took it off for you to see basically. So that's good to go. Straight into the oven, and make sure you cook it on the bottom shelf. You don't want it burning or cooking too quickly. It's a slow roasted chicken recipe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just give the chicken a little turn around in the juices so that the skin that's been kind of sitting facing upwards doesn't dry out. This sauce will naturally thicken up now while the foil has been taken off. Now this is ready to go back into the oven without the foil on it for another 50 to 60 minutes. Just keep your eye on it. You know, check halfway through if you feel like perhaps it needs turning over or anything needs stirring. So it's going to cook like that. Okay, so I'm going to get the chicken out now. It's been in there for just under 2 hours. So as I said, just make sure you keep an eye on it. And you can always turn the heat down a little bit if you're worried that they're getting far too crispy. And I did turn mine round as well. So look at those. I mean, they are slow cooked, falling off the bone. They are so soft, and that's what you want. You want it to fall apart, and you want those juices to kind of amalgamate into the rice as well. So I'm just going to serve this on the rice. Oh my God, look at that. This is the vermicelli rice that I cooked, and if you want to cook this, keep an eye out because I'm going to be posting the recipe on my channel. It's one of my most popular recipes as well, and it's a great one that goes brilliant with any kind of meat dish, stew, as you can see here, and get all these lovely luscious bits of onion in there as well that are cooked at the bottom of the pan. I can smell the cumin, I can smell the pomegranate molasses, the orange, the honey, all of it. It's just lush. Do not waste this beautiful luscious sauce. It's there for a reason. It's looked after your chicken in the tray, so you need to look after it and make sure you serve it up as well. Beautiful. So what I like to do is top the chicken with some fresh parsley, pine nuts and pomegranate molasses. I put a little bit of each on to start with in kind of 2 layers so you get a bit of everything. My pan isn't hot anymore, so I'm just going to put those over. Now I could tap this with a spoon, but I don't trust myself that it's not going to go everywhere. So I'm just going to break some of these beautiful jewels of pomegranate over. So this is my pomegranate molasses, honey and orange roasted chicken, my vermicelli rice, and it's absolutely delish. So if you enjoyed my video, please click and subscribe.